It's easy to get bogged down in all the nebulous details and subcategories of finance and forget that at its root, finance is really about something very simple. I sometimes define finance in part as people moving assets to make the best of an uncertain future. Anything that has value is an asset. Straight cash in a bank account, inventory or equipment that could be sold, even good faith promises of payment from customers. How we manage assets in order to keep our doors open from one day to the next falls under the purview of finance. Academics like to break down finance into four broad categories: corporate finance, investments, financial institutions, and international finance. As for financial institutions, these are banks and insurance companies, stock brokerages, and trust companies. They are the people who move money around in the economy so that businesses and individuals can pursue gainful activities. They're in the business of making money by moving money around. And that's something that's difficult for a lot of people to accept or appreciate. They operate on the principle of time value of money, which usually denotes that it's better to have cash in your pocket now versus having the same amount handed to you tomorrow. Why? Because if you have the cash now, you can do something with it. If you have to wait until tomorrow, you pay an opportunity cost for whatever you might have had and whatever you might have done with it in the meantime. That's where concepts like interest come in. When you take a loan from a bank, you're basically renting money from one person or one group of people through the mediation of a financial institution. Someone else is willing to let you have the money now, but in exchange, you'll pay more later to make it worth the opportunity cost for them not using the money themselves. Financial institutions are the gatekeepers of these transactions, determining who should receive money and under what terms. As the collapse of Bear Stearns and the government bailouts of large lending institutions like AIG, Fannie Mae, and Freddie Mac have demonstrated, the decisions financial institutions make can have drastic effects on the economy. When people lose confidence in the availability or value of money, there's a reaction, sometimes even panic. Here it's easy to segue into a discussion of macroeconomics. However, my point is to focus on the concept of finance, which leads me to the second category, investments. This is something those of us in the startup world are thinking about all the time as we weigh the costs and advantages of throwing our eggs into this or that basket. Most people think of investments in terms of stocks and bonds, using their cash to help fund particular companies by taking partial ownership in the company or shouldering a portion of the company's debt. In both cases, what investors are after is a return that makes the use of their money worthwhile. They want to receive back far more than they put into the company, but there's always a lot of risk involved here, and so investors are always trying to predict which companies will succeed and which will fail, based upon a complex array of data and no small amount of gut instinct. If you're thinking about operating or opening a new company and decide to pitch your business plan to a room full of prospective investors, be prepared to demonstrate why your product idea will be a home run. And have evidence. Prove it. Your challenge is to present a considerable return of investment opportunity. Let's assume business is up and running. This leads to the third category, corporate finance. As the term suggests, this has to do with how companies move money around to fund their activities, draw a profit, and maximize their value for shareholders. I can refer to three interrelated financial decisions that managers have to make. First, they must consider matters of resource investment. They have to determine which projects the company will take on, and they have to spend considerable time projecting the cost of these projects in order to budget appropriately for them. Then comes the question of funding, or where the money will come from. Questions to consider. Will the company apply for a line of credit with a bank? Will it issue new stock? Or will it tap into profits from another product line? Finally, there is the matter of dividends. Here, managers must decide what to do with profits earned as a result of their projects, whether to pay them out to shareholders or reinvest them in new projects and capital improvements. The final category I rely on in my explanation of finance is international finance, which is really just an idea of specialty with each of the other three categories. It deals with such things as foreign currency, exchange rates, and overseas political instability. These matters affect how they do business with international suppliers and customers, not to mention whether they will hold or liquidate their monetary interests in foreign companies. International finance is the reason, though, why you hear many people worried over economic hardships in the European Union. Financial observers know the global economy is closely linked to the welfare of its biggest players, and when one of those countries like Greece goes into a steep recession, the implications for investors and business managers in other countries are profound. In a nutshell, this is one way I break down the meaning of finance.